Hi everyone, it's Adrian here from Genie Magazine, and I'm here with Kirby Bridges. So Kirby, hello.
Hi, thanks for having me.
That's a pleasure. Now, I think you're the second person I've interviewed from America. The first one was in New York. Whereabouts are you? You said you're in Wisconsin.
I am in Milwaukee, Wisconsin,
Okay,
and I just moved here in January for a new job that I
yep,
have.
which we'll get into. Now, I normally try introducing other people, but I've given up. So, would you like to introduce yourself and tell everyone a little bit about what you do and what you're passionate about?
Sure. I have to explain this a lot to people
Okay,
because I think that my job is kind of one of a kind. So I'm very much used to this. But essentially, I am a tennis YouTuber. I am a whole host of things. I'm
okay,
a TV host
yep,
slash tennis pro. So my background is in both broadcasting and tennis. So
right,
I've taken the two and put them together, and now I'm just a a digital content creator for all things tennis. So
right.
yeah.
I mean, you're obviously passionate about tennis. I'm not sure where to start with this. There's so many areas I could start, but why don't we start with tennis? That's obviously your passion.
Sounds
How,
good.
how did it how did it begin? Do you remember the first time you picked up a racket, first time you hit a ball?
I actually do. It was really it's actually just it was a very memorable occasion
Right.
for me. I started when I was 5 years old.
Wow.
And my grandparents started me, and my grandfather just loves tennis, and they lived at a tennis community
Yeah.
in Florida. So I was 5 years
Right.
old. I started there, and I just started playing tournaments, and I got the bug. I fell in love with the game.
Okay,
So
hang
I
on.
still remember my
You've
first
skipped a bit.
lesson.
You've had your first one, and then you said tournaments. Imagine there was a bit in between. I mean, you must have been pretty good pretty quickly. I mean, growing up in Florida, if people don't know, Florida is a hotbed of tennis activity. But I mean, you picked up the racket. You must have gotten what? You must have shown some talent. I'm assuming.
Well, I grew up in Nebraska,
Right.
so which is debatable that for as a hotbed of tennis
That's where
activity,
Andy Roddick comes from, though, isn't it?
and my good friend Jack Sock.
Okay.
So um, it's there's a good amount of tennis activity going
Yeah.
on in Nebraska, but uh, yeah, I had my first lesson when I was visiting my grandparents,
Yeah.
and then I went back home and I would hit against the garage. I mean, I was obsessed. I
Right.
taught all the neighbor kids to play so that I would have somebody to play with me.
A coach was
Um,
born that day.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I would stay outside until I hit 1,000 balls against
Yeah.
the garage, and the rest is history.
What I people had sometimes have these things they're super passionate about, and they could do it forever, not get paid, and still be happy. For me, I mean, tennis is that I tell people often that tennis for me is like meditation. I can forget everything else if I just go on the court. I just lose myself, and I can have fun. But what is it about tennis for you that made you fall in love with it?
Huh. Um, I think I'm pretty similar to you in that respect,
Yeah.
that whatever's happening in your life off court, for me, I can go on court and it's like you're able to just drop everything
Yeah.
and be in that moment and use your time on court, um, whether you're teaching or you're
Yeah.
practicing or you're just hitting mindlessly, as a reflection um, to your life off court.
Yeah.
So to me, that character building is what draws me back time and time again, and being
Sure.
able to give it back to other people too. That's just
Sure.
what fires me up.
Let's go a little bit into that. Let's talk about what you're doing at it's Essential Tennis, right?
Yes, yes.
Now,
So
Essential Tennis is a
essentialtennis.com.
yeah. Now, I looked at some of the videos, and one of them is almost up to 500,000 views. So, I mean, it's obviously a very successful channel, and refreshingly, I have to say, it's actually worth watching. There are a lot of tennis channels out there that you look at it and go, I can't watch this. But do you want to tell everyone like what does Essential Tennis do, and maybe what you're doing, maybe what a day in the life of Kirby Bridges looks like at Essential Tennis?
Well, thank you, first of all. We are, so technically, I guess, in describing earlier what
Mm,
my job really is,
yeah,
I get to do a lot of really cool things,
yeah,
and the uniqueness of having a job like I do that's different from I think anybody in the world
yeah.
is there's a learning curve, and every day we're figuring out what my job is. But
Right.
um,
It's flexible. It's fluid. It's moving.
right.
Yeah.
But technically, my job title is the director of content development.
Hmm.
So anything that we release, and publish online,
Yeah.
I'm responsible for putting that out there,
Right.
and coming up with new ideas that other people aren't doing, and making sure that we're really on track with
Yeah.
our tutorials, and our brand messaging
Right.
across social media.
Okay.
So a typical day for me, I come into the office, and I have my dog with me today. So um,
You had your dog in in one of your Ask Kirby videos, I saw.
I know, and people commented, "Is that a cat?" And I'm like, no,
Okay.
I mean, that's just expensive. So, so I come into the office, and I check out what's going on.
Yeah.
From the moment I wake up, I'm engaged in our social media on Instagram and Twitter.
Sure.
Another one of our guys runs our Facebook page, and he does a very good job with that.
Hmm.
But I'm posting there and engaging with new students and other people across the world who just love tennis.
Wow.
I'm also brainstorming new content ideas,
Yeah.
and then setting up our scheduling for shooting and publishing new
Right.
material.
Right.
So
What
yeah, that's
what's
just
it
what I do.
what is it like when you have something that you love so much and you basically get to do it every day and you assuming you get paid for it and you get to take it in wild wacky ways and you get to talk to everyone around the world who loves it as well. I mean that's got to be something pretty good to wake up to, even if you have a dog that looks like a cat.
Well, yeah, I mean, having the dog just he does help. He's just like the little cherry on top. So,
Yeah.
uh, but every it's incredibly fulfilling. But something that we also do is about, it's like about 90-10, but
Mm,
at 10% of the time we are able to interact with people in person
yeah.
for our experiences that we do over the course of a few days,
Sure.
where we're teaching people,
Right.
in real life on court, and
Yeah.
that too, that's incredibly helpful too. But
Sure.
it's awesome to be able to engage with people across the world. And
Yeah. I
I think
imagine.
right now we're up to over 145 countries. So
Not
it's
many left.
really not, yeah, just a few. I don't know which ones are left, but
You'll get
will
them.
get a list together.
Now let's talk about what I wanted to talk to Kirby about was you're obviously passionate about what you do, and there's this theory I have. I mean, I've been coaching tennis, in high schools and things like that, and a lot of girls and boys love their sport in school. Now you've got college sports quite organized in the States. We don't have an equivalent here in Australia, unfortunately. So let's say a girl loves her tennis or her basketball or her football, her soccer, and she'd like to make a go of it, right? But maybe she's not quite good enough to go pro, but she'd still somehow like to make a living out of it. Can you tell us? I mean, you were on the journey, the trajectory, for that top level tier of playing, and then at some point you must have chosen, okay, well, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do this. Can you tell people how you managed to do that? I mean, you said you got a one in a million job. I mean, how could someone else maybe recreate that? Maybe not necessarily exactly your job, but what sort of groundwork could they do to get ready for something a little bit different?
Well, um, it can be a complicated answer, but I'm going to
Yeah.
simplify it. So I'm so passionate about tennis, of course, but something else that I'm really really passionate about is spreading this message to people, that you can create exactly the life that you want to live.
Okay.
You got to be really committed to it, and there's no like dipping a toe in the water. You have to cannonball full force into it. But
Right.
what what you want to do in this world is you are fully capable of, as long as you can put those ideas together and put a plan in action. That can be yours if you work hard enough at it.
For
So
sure.
to me, it's just it's exactly that. So
Yeah.
the way that I got my job is um, I was playing tennis. I was so passionate about it. I had a lot of bumps in the road personally, and ultimately decided that my passion was coaching. I started coaching actually when I was 13 years old,
Wow.
and I started because I needed a way to help contribute to paying for my own lessons.
Sure.
Um, so um, in doing that, I gained this appreciation, and I just loved to work, and I loved being in that real world. And I knew that tennis always had to be a part of me and my future job, and that
Mm.
was just non-negotiable. And health in that.
Sure.
So what I did was I, I went to school, and starting in high school,
Yep.
I was really involved in a broadcasting class,
Okay.
and then into college, I decided that I wanted to be coaching, so I was doing that full time,
Okay.
um, and eventually got my broadcasting degree. And I have to say, I didn't have a traditional 4-year experience, playing tennis or anything like that
Yep.
at all. If you want the full story, I'm happy to tell it, but it's a lot messier than that. Um, so,
But I
so
mean, so you really, in essence, really carved your own path, and sort of your passion was your guiding star. So everything that happened was you only really clued into it because you knew where you wanted to be at the end of it, right?
exactly. So for me, I've known that I have a few things that I'm really, really passionate about. They're kind of
Mm.
floating around. Um, I love tennis, and I'm incredibly passionate about working with people and teaching and coaching and just making people better.
Mm.
But I also have this passion for broadcasting and being able to communicate a message.
Yeah.
So being able to take those things,
And
and I just
put
threw
them
my
to.
hands and put them together,
Yeah.
um, has has been a really great thing for me. But with that said, um, you know, it has been about carving out my own path and doing things my own way,
Yeah.
and just being able to accept that. It's been really hard, I'm not going to lie, but it's been the only way for me.
Sure. I just want to talk about passion for a bit because I know people will look at this and go, "Oh, it's easy for you. You're passionate, so she got lucky." I know so many preteen, teenage girls and boys will go, "Well, I've got nothing I'm passionate about other than going home, playing computer games, eating chips. How can I help me discover my passion?" I mean, do you think passion is something you've just got, or it's something that you have to go and look for? I mean, what would you say about someone who says, "Well, I don't got no passion"?
Um, I I talk to a lot of people about this, and
Yeah.
I really think that if you want to find passion,
Mm.
then it's yours,
Yeah.
and you just have to be able. You got to put in the time. You can't just sit back passively and ever think that something is just going to arrive at you.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so to me, I see so many people who feel like their lives are stagnant. They feel like things are just really bland at the moment. They
Yeah.
don't know what to do, and so they just sort of stand on this ledge, looking out
Yeah.
at the world. And the thing is that you just have to jump. Whatever direction it is, you get to a point where if you don't know what your passion is, you just got to jump in any direction and you will find it. Because
Yeah.
whether it's starting a job and then finding out that you hate it,
Yeah.
and that it was the biggest mistake of your life,
Yeah.
then it sends you in another direction. And that's the thing, though, is that you make bold decisions,
Yeah.
and those choices will lead you to really big things.
Yeah, I
So that
absolutely
would be my
agree.
advice.
I think a lot of people do just sit at home, wait for sort of passion to fall on them, like fall on their head, and I don't think it ever happens that way. I agree. You got to get out and make something happen. What about what was I going to? You mentioned bumps in the road, and when you're carving out such a unique sort of path, I imagine you've had loads of bumps. How do you how do you deal with setbacks? I mean, you must have had a lot, whether it's in your playing, you know, and you get an injury, or you start coaching and you screw up a lesson. I mean, or you going on YouTube and having people write colorful feedback
Oh my,
at the bottom of
that's
it.
my life right now.
If
Yep.
you want to grow up quickly, I say go on social media, put up a YouTube video, and you get tough skin really quickly. But how do you deal with those sorts of setbacks?
Um, well, I'm not gonna lie, it's really tough for me.
Yeah.
I have personally really struggled and battled with depression and anxiety
Wow.
for as long as I can remember. I mean, originally diagnosed when I was 16, but I know it had been going on for a lot longer than that.
Mm.
So, so that's one thing in my life that has made things a little more difficult. But
Yeah.
you just have to be able to keep going and put one foot in front of the next and just and keep moving through it, because I know it's so cheesy, but there's always I feel like sometimes you have to get through the storm to
Yeah.
see the rainbow, you know, and but on the flip side of it, it makes you, those tough times make you realize how important life is and be so much more appreciative of it and of
Yeah.
the little things. So
Yeah.
um, what personally am working on right now is, whether it's a YouTube comments, you know, you can get 1,000
Good ones
positive comments
and
and
one.
then that one
Yeah.
negative one that just like arrows into your mind and
Sticks.
ricochets
Yeah.
around it, and it makes you crazy.
Yep.
So you know, when you hear those kind of things, whether it's that or something, you know, a breakup, something in your family, whatever it is,
Mm.
you just have to know that it gets better, keep going, and that just that what am I trying to say?
I get what you're trying to say. I mean, but it's really, really tough, right? I mean, I had no idea. It's very brave of you to say that. I feel like we've gone on Oprah into Oprah mode a little bit here. No, but
Well,
this is good. But I mean, it's tough, right? I mean, going through
yeah.
depression and anxiety, and I'm volunteering at the moment at Lifeline, which in Australia we do suicide prevention. We have a 24-hour phone line, and I just went on my first shift the other day, and
Oh wow, what was that like?
well, I was there at 6 in the morning, so it's a 4 hour shift. We started at 6 in the morning, so I had to be up at 5. And the second call was someone who was suicidal because of a bad breakup. And he was at that stage where, similar to you know, you're going through that really tough time, but he didn't know what reason there was to keep going. And I think a lot of us, if we don't have that reason, really, really struggle. But I am curious. I mean, what helps you to keep going, and is tennis part of that? Because a lot of people say when you're depressed, exercise and getting around friends is one of the best things that you can do. And I mean, tennis would help you with both of that, right? I mean, assuming you're playing with a friend and you get out there and you're active. How big a role did tennis play in helping you through maybe the dark times?
Oh, definitely, it's had a huge role
Yeah,
in that. So, you know, part of going through really tough things is how you recover from them,
exactly.
and you just, as you move through life, it's, you just accept that this is a normal thing, that you go through bad times, and then the recovery process gets lesser and lesser each time, and you have to be
Yeah,
disciplined in that
yeah,
to um, to be mentally tough
yeah.
enough to recognize that, and recognize and that you control your thoughts, no one else does,
Yeah.
and it's an incredibly powerful idea that you control your thoughts, and
Mm,
when you take
definitely.
ownership of that idea, um, then it's really something that can transform your life. And that is definitely a message that I've learned from tennis, because as you know, you can go on court and you can have the best day of your life, or you can have the worst day of your life. And you have to be able
I
to
have no
go
idea what you're
through,
talking about. Every time I walk on the tennis court, I'm perfect, right? I mean,
right?
it's never a battle
Like,
for me.
just like Roger.
He's never had a bad time, right?
Right. So you learn to take those mental demons and turn the negative into the positive, control your thoughts, and keep going through it.
That's got to, I mean, that's a hugely powerful message. I mean, how much success, on a slightly lighter note, have you had in taking that onto the tennis court? Are you like rock solid mentally on the tennis court, or are you still human?
I'm definitely human, definitely human. I think that's part of us at Essential Tennis. We don't claim to be the greatest tennis players who ever lived.
That's really hard to do when you have a photo of him in the background.
Well, you got to have somebody to look up to. It's a struggle. It's a struggle at every level. We
Mm,
see, you see world number one Novak Djokovic
yeah,
out on the court struggling and talking to himself, talking to his box.
yeah, he gets quite
You know,
animated.
yeah, and I love that kind of energy and that kind of fire from a player.
Yeah,
But um, you know, it's not everybody is mentally
calm.
stable. I calm. Yeah, I used to call it when I was coaching kids several years ago at national tournaments
Yeah,
in US. I always called it mental mashed potatoes. So you talk to my team, and you either you can be here or here and here and here and here, up and down in a few games, and that's like you just go mental mashed potatoes. One of my players called it, and so you got to do your best to stay calm, just stay here,
yeah.
stay
I
as close to here as possible.
I do love it when people say, for example, golf or tennis. It's a great stress reliever. My comeback to that is, well, it always depends on how you play. If you play well, yes. If you're not playing well, it doesn't do that. It's the complete opposite. But I
It's
mean,
painful.
you, you've talked about a lot of sort of really powerful beliefs that you have, even starting with, being passionate, how important passion is, and then being resilient. Do you have any idea where you can trace that back to? Because not everyone has those sorts of beliefs. Was it a parent? Was it a grandparent? Or did you just ingrain it in yourself from a hard time? Where did all these beliefs that you have come from?
Um, hmm. I don't think I've ever talked about this
Because they're super
so
important,
much,
right?
but
I mean, if someone goes through
yeah.
a hard time and they have a belief, well, my life's over, that's it, versus you have a belief, I can make it through. I mean, where did you pick up these beliefs from?
Um, Through those hard times.
Yeah.
So I think from a really young age, I grew up in a family of really business-minded people, of a family of entrepreneurs, and um, and with that, I grew up in my parents' restaurant. So the work ethic, where our whole family was all hands on deck,
Mm,
um, it, you know, that really it instilled this work ethic in me, and um, going through those hard times honestly with my family, it
right.
was for a while there, it was really rough, and it
Can
felt
imagine.
like, yeah, it felt like the bottom dropped out.
Yeah.
So going through those hard times, like I mean, I'm telling you, I feel like probably from the time I was about 16 to my, I don't know, 21 or 22, I felt like, when is it going to be over? Like,
Yeah.
I just feel like life is just punching me in the face, just over and
And again,
over
yeah.
and over.
Yeah.
Whether it's like a failed business, or your parents are going to get divorced, but they're not. They're going to move
Yeah.
across the country. They're going to, I mean, it's a breakups that just level you. Like,
Yeah.
we all go through it. And
Yeah.
instead of thinking, when is this going to be over? It just, all of a sudden, like, the clouds clear, the sunshine comes out, and you realize, okay, I can do anything. And if I've been through this, and this, and I've got a perfect track record for waking up every day,
Mm.
then every day can only get better from here.
It does sound like it put a lot of things in perspective for you.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think just going through a lot at a young age um, put everything into perspective for me.
It does
So it
put
makes things easier and easier.
it does put double faulting or missing a missing a forehand into perspective as well, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. Still not a good feeling, by the way.
All right, now just for my own sake, I do want to talk tennis with you for a bit, and then we'll wrap up. Now, like pop sort of quiz. So I'm going to guess some of the answers in my head, but who's your favorite player?
Uh, Roger Federer.
Okay, I got that one
I feel
right.
like that's a default. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, who do you think is the greatest of all time on the men's side?
On the men's side, Roger for sure.
Okay. What about on the women's side?
Women's side, undoubtedly Serena.
Okay. Who's going to win the French?
I think that's a tough one. I am going to hedge my bet on Rafa, but
Okay.
I think that I don't think it's Djokovic's year. He's had some blunders as of late
Do you
on clay.
do you think he will win the French at some stage?
Absolutely. I
Absolutely.
think he's in it until he wins the French.
Fair enough. What about the women's side? Who's your pick?
Uh, the women's side, my pick would be um it's hard to not say Serena, but
Yeah.
besides her, I would say Azarenka. I think
Oh, okay.
she's been coming back really strong, and
Yeah.
she's such a fighter. I haven't seen her play such good tennis for the past 2 or 3 years. So
Yeah.
I'm really impressed with her previous performances earlier this year.
Okay. Fair enough. What do you think about the whole Sharapova drug scandal? Do you think she should be allowed to come back in? Do you think, she, I mean, where do you weigh in on this?
I think that um, how do
Because she
I
hasn't had her
really,
hearing yet, so we're still not sure how
right,
long
but
she's going to be out for.
I think it was scheduled for today though, but I haven't
Yes.
heard anything.
No.
So as of today, there were headlines going on around this morning saying some Russian official said that she's going to retire,
It was the president
and
of Russian tennis, and he's since retracted that and gone, I just meant, well, she can't
yes,
play at the moment. Well, thank you for that, but that's not what
right,
you said
yes,
before.
yeah. So he was trying to say that it was taken out of context or something, but I think that my opinion on that is that she needs to have due justice.
Yeah.
I understand that it could be a mistake, but all of the evidence seems right now that she had plenty of warning and it's
Yeah.
fair game. It
Yeah.
was such a shocker in the tennis world, but
Yeah.
um, uh, yeah, I just hope that she gets what is appropriate
Yeah.
and nothing more, nothing less.
Sure. I think that's fair enough. Now let's talk about you as a tennis player quickly. What's your best shot?
My forehand. I'm a lefty.
I know you're a lefty. I hate lefties. I hate all of you with a passion. Ball always goes the wrong way.
I'm just so hated.
I'm not
Yeah.
saying that. I had a beautiful new restring on my racket and playing against a lefty, and I misjudged because of the curve on your guys' serves, and I framed it and broke the string. It was like the fourth time I used the racket. It's like, oh, I hate lefties.
Oh man, yeah,
Anyway,
yeah.
just to get a little bit back, what's your worst shot? Or what's your least
Uh,
favorite shot?
my least favorite shot is probably it's my backhand, but right now it's my serve, just because I'm serving so infrequently that it's no dice.
Yes.
It used to be
Coach's
my
curse. The coach's
weapon.
curse. We never serve.
Exactly. Yep. And we rarely hit backhands. You
Yep.
have to have the other hand to hold four balls.
Yeah, that's very true. Now, what's the best moment or your best memory that you've ever had on a tennis court?
My best memory was, um, I, it's got to be when I was coaching. And
Okay.
one of my best memories was when my team, who was expected to do horribly. We were supposed to be the worst team there, and not only that, we were supposed to be the worst team from the worst section there.
Right.
And my team got second,
Wow.
and it was just it was awesome, and
Yeah.
mostly because of how the team came together.
Yeah.
You can't beat that feeling.
For sure. That sounds like a fantastic memory. What about now? I want to pull up something that I saw on Instagram, and I think it was you on the red carpet, and you were about to interview someone, and your belt came off. I was going to ask what was your most embarrassing moment on a court, but maybe what happened there with the belt?
Okay, so here's what happened. So I was in Miami earlier this year, and I was at this amazing event called Taste of Tennis.
Right. Yep.
It's open to the public,
Yeah.
and it's amazing. It's a players' party with like all the best chefs. They have it in Miami and New York. So I was in Miami covering the green carpet, and Patrick Mouratoglou walked himself in there and avoided the carpet. And I thought to myself, well, I got nothing else going on. I want to get an exclusive interview.
Yeah.
So I go up to him and I'm like, Patrick, can you come over here just for a minute, and just give me an interview, just a quick interview. And,
Yeah.
and he said, I'll do it for you. And I was like, okay. Well, I get him over there, and the second he walks out and I'm ready to go with my mic, my belt just flies off. And I mean, it was just so embarrassing. And it flies off and it goes on the carpet, and it was like, I mean, he picks it up and he puts it on me. It was mortifying.
What? I've never seen a belt fly off.
Nor have I. But the thing is that the thing that made it even more mortifying, just, like my hand to God here,
Yeah.
is that the reason that I was wearing the belt was because I rushed into town and I bought the outfit that day.
Right.
And it was too big. And so the belt was holding everything together. So my fear is that when he put my belt back on, that he got more than he was bargaining for. But that was, he was a good sport about it. So very fortunate.
So if I was to ask you what the most embarrassing moment on your court was, I mean, can anything top that? Because that sounds like it's a story for the ages right there.
Well, my most embarrassing moment this is another weird one. Okay, but so my most embarrassing moment on court was when I was in high school and I was playing in the state championship finals.
Right.
Me and my doubles partner, and we're in Nebraska, and we're up a set and a break.
Yeah.
And
Put it in the bag.
I was wearing, if you recall, it was a Maria Sharapova pink dress, and all of a sudden I looked down and I'm like, what? And I got a nosebleed, and so I looked down and my dress is just covered in blood, just freak nosebleed on the court, and I look up and I'm like, okay, like sorry, like time, and it turned out that you couldn't return to the court if your clothes had blood on them. And I didn't, I didn't bring an extra outfit in my bag. I probably had everything else under the sun, but I definitely didn't have that. So, literally my opponents were trying to offer me clothes. So I got a shirt from one girl on my team. I got shorts from the littlest girl on my team. But then here's part of the story that I sometimes I tell and sometimes I don't. But I needed, I didn't have a bra, and I'm in the bathroom. I'm freaking out. Time is ticking because I only had 10 minutes for my timeout. Right. And I'm like running around the complex trying to find clothes. And finally, one of my coaches comes in, and she walked in and she says, I hear you need a little support.
Oh my God.
So I finished the match in everyone else's clothes. It was a real team effort.
Did you
And
win?
we won.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. And it was in front of a few hundred people too. So it was just like, and everybody knew it was quite fun. At least we won. I mean,
Yeah, I
that's
mean,
all.
it's all worth it, right?
Yeah.
Would
Yeah.
have been.
But that was pretty embarrassing. I was like 15, so it was double embarrassing because I was a teenager.
That's a pretty good story. I haven't heard one quite like that, so that's well done. Now we'll wrap up, but I just want to get if people want to contact you or get in touch with Essential Tennis, did you? And I will whatever you say, I'll put them down below in the edit. But did you want to give us some contact details? What's the best way to get in contact with you or with Essential Tennis?
Absolutely. So, first of all, I just want to say thank you so much for this interview. I've
It's all right.
loved
Fun.
every minute of it. And I love connecting with people across the world. I have girls from across the world who connect with me on Instagram,
Mm,
on Twitter, that they're looking for advice, whether it's on court or off, and I welcome all of that.
brilliant.
So you can get me at Kirby Bridges, just
Mhm.
my name,
Yep.
on all platforms.
Okay.
And if you're looking for coaching, then you can go on to at Essential Tennis, and you can find us on essentialtennis.com,
Brilliant.
wherever you look.
Okay.
So yeah.
Fantastic. Quick story for you with Instagram. The way I found you was I was running a tennis Instagram channel briefly, and I put something up about I think it was Azarenka, and I think you liked it and commented underneath. So that's how I found
Oh,
you.
cool.
So that's a story for your collection there, all the way from Sydney in Australia. Now let's wrap up. These are the 10 questions I always wrap up with, and whatever comes to mind, and have some fun, which I'm sure you will. So number one, what is your favorite word?
Oh, can I come back to that?
Sure.
I know I have it. It's on the tip of my tongue. I just can't remember.
As long as it's not tennis, because that would be horribly cliche.
No.
Okay, we'll come back to it. Remind me.
Okay.
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 Well, what's your least favorite word?
My least favorite word. Well, I like all the swear words,
We'll,
so
we'll, we'll don't use them yet because that's one of the other questions.
okay. What's my least favorite word? Oh, my least favorite word is no.
Fair enough. A lot of people say that. Okay, you tell me whenever you got that favorite word back on the tip of your tongue.
Okay.
Now, number three, what turns you on?
Teaching people.
Nice.
And my favorite thing in the world is seeing somebody's face light up when they really get it.
Yeah, those are magic moments when they get something.
Yeah. Yeah.
What turns you off?
Uh, Negative people, negative
Mm,
energy. It's just, it's so heavy.
yeah,
Not fun to be around. It weighs on you.
absolutely. Now, what is your favorite sound or noise?
Oh my God, this is so cheesy. Um, my, I love when I love hearing my dog um, at night when he's sleeping and he's like running in his dreams and he has, and he's chasing those rabbits in his dreams. He makes just like the funniest little noises. That's my favorite sound.
I was.
And I guess just closing your eyes when you're at a tennis complex and you hear the
The
feet
thud.
moving and
Yeah,
you hear the tennis balls being hit.
fair enough.
That too.
So we got a tie between the dog and between tennis.
Yeah.
What is your least favorite sound or noise?
Probably the sound of my chair in my office. It's absolutely wrenching on me. You sit back and it's just, it's horrible.
That seems like it would be an easy one to fix, but never, never mind.
It's on the list.
It's on the list somewhere. Now, what is your favorite curse word?
I love saying and it comes into a lot of my conversations. Yeah. I mean, so I tend to curse like a sailor. Um,
It's a very
but
versatile word.
Isn't it? It's just
You can
so
use it
appropriate.
as a noun, you can use it as a verb, you can use it as an adjective.
It's
You
a
can,
great adjective.
yeah.
Yeah.
Do
Yeah, it's a great word. Maybe that's my favorite. Ask me again what my favorite.
you-
Ask me what my favorite word is.
what's your favorite word?
That's my favorite word.
My favorite word is just
Yep.
love it all the time.
I
I,
might use it in the rest of this interview.
I'm gonna have to go overboard with the bleeping after this. You do realize on the tennis court you're not allowed to swear, right?
I swear a lot on the tennis court.
You're not
I
supposed.
just not just under my breath though, so I get away with it. I'm not on TV like Nick Kyrgios and Andy Murray. So
No, okay. Got three more questions here for you. Yeah, what
okay.
what job or profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
Um, I'm living my dream.
Yeah,
So
it's a hard one.
uh, so I think just from here, it's the one that I want to attempt is just where I'm building to. So I want to be calling matches. I want to be the tennis host
Yeah,
world. I want to be at every tournament, talking to people in person and
yeah,
online, and be doing it just on a bigger scale. And
yeah,
I'm already doing that and
yeah.
loving it. So I look forward to the future.
I was hoping you were going to say dancer because I was looking at one of your other Instagram videos and you were dancing.
Oh yeah, I got
That
some
one.
moves.
They weren't bad. Popped up from behind a giant SUV and started busting out a move. I'm like, that's not bad.
That's my car.
Oh, that's your car.
Yeah, you got to have a huge car in the U.S. because it's just your requirement.
I've seen some of those in Australia, and they don't fit on our streets. I can tell you that. So you look up and the sun's blocked. That's like, what's that? Oh, that's a car. Okay. Okay. So
Yeah.
what profession other than your own would you not like to attempt?
Not like to attempt. I when I worked at Tennis Channel,
Hmm.
it, I absolutely like 99% out of 100 um, loved everything about that job. But just working like in the cube farm, in the cubicles.
Yeah.
So anything for me that's just like a conventional
Uh,
9 to 5 in a,
it's-
surrounded by four gray walls,
uh,
it ain't gonna work. So
you sound
that's what
exactly the same as me. Anything that's with basically anything indoors, like I'm allergic to. I got to get outside. I got to do something different. I
yeah,
can't do this.
yeah. When every day is the same, I mean, it's like
When every day is
so
grey day.
sucking.
Yeah. Okay. Last question. If God
Okay.
exists, what would you like to hear him say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Let's party.
Getting quite an insight into the personality of Kirby Bridges' favorite word and what she wants to hear God say. Well,
It is a let's fucking party.
I reckon if God has a sense of humor, I really hope he swears. I really hope he's not all sort of straight and narrow. Otherwise, what's
You know,
the point?
I think God has a sense of humor. I think it's a pretty good one. Sometimes it's morbid.
Oh yeah, no, he's got that happening, definitely.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, look, all that remains is for me to thank you so much for your time. It's been great fun, and I will put all those links and contact details that you mentioned below. Is there anyone that you wanted to give a shout out to before we close, aside from your dog?
Um, God, I feel like I just won like the best rap album of the year or something. Um,
Your Grammy
shout out,
Acceptance Award. Hurry up, or we're going to play you off the stage.
yeah, shout out to my mama. And yeah, no, I just want to say thank you so much. I really appreciate it. This has been a really fun interview.
Okay, brilliant. Well, thanks everyone for watching, and we'll speak to you later.